Right. I think we should get into the video, you know. We're going to watch the Mia Khalifa interview with Louis Theroux. Just thinking about how to introduce this. Let me give a little wee bit of an introduction. What can I say? What can I do? Where have I gone? Cotton Eye Joe. Journalist Louis Theroux has recently come out with an episode of his podcast with Mia Khalifa, in which they talk about Mia and their experience with autism. So today we're going to be having a look at that very podcast. Not the entire thing, of course, but the more autism related stuff, and we're going to see what she has to say. And yeah, it's a very interesting thing. Of course, yeah, that's a really engaging thing to say, Thomas. It's an interesting thing. What does that tell you about it? I have no idea. Let us get into the video.
Yeah.
And just to follow on from that, because also seeing you, and I don't want to put this the wrong way, like I identify as a bit of a nerd, and I see certain nerd-like qualities in you.
It's the autism.
Right, okay. So talk about that.
No, I feel like I've always had a knack for the internet. I mean, I'm a kid who grew up playing World of Warcraft and using dial-up internet and fixing the computer.
What a G, World of Warcraft. I'm a RuneScape kid. Always have been, always will.
At home when it broke, like that was my job because I was of that generation. So I think that I've always had a knack for what I like to consume online, which in turn influenced how I like to be online. And the way I like to be is just to find my little nooks and crannies, and that is usually where I find my home in nerdy niches.
Nerdy
I'm a huge comic fan. I'm a huge Batman fan. I animate everything. So I
think it's worth saying that autism isn't just only that, but I mean, there is a lot of individuals out there who do like the sort of what people would describe as geeky things. Or I've seen one person called Philion that I watched quite a bit saying that autistic people are more drawn to like he described it as child-coded things. Child-coded. Basically things that are sort of directed towards a younger demographic. But there seems to be a lot of autistic people who like that kind of stuff, which makes sense, I guess. Although, I don't know. I mean, the whole, age-related interest thing is kind of lost on me, to be honest.
I feel like I have, even if it's not public, I feel like I have a home in every corner of the internet. And that might be a reason why I feel like I get it a little bit more than most. I feel like everyone my age is similar. We all came up in that internet era. We remember when Twitter became a site. We remember when all of these things happened. So we have a leg up on it because we were there from
the bottom of the barrel social media site. I hate Twitter. God damn it. It just seems like everyone's passive aggressive sort of dark side manifest. I don't know what you guys think. I mean, Instagram's not the best either, but I feel like it's a bit more personable, especially if you like have pictures of yourself on your own Instagram, I'm pretty sure that I've seen some people talk about like the dead internet theory, whereby like there's just a bunch of bots all creating content specifically like on Twitter. It's not Twitter, is it? It's X. Still gonna call it Twitter. And then there's just a bunch of bots just like commenting on or retweeting it and like liking it and stuff. It's a very interesting theory. I wonder how like people can analyze that. I have no idea. 4chan is worse than Twitter. Yes. Yeah. I'd probably agree with that one.
Honestly, beta.
What does beta mean?
Like
beta.
When it was still testing and you had to have a link sent to you and that link could only be sent to 10 people and it was a really small site.
With Twitter specifically?
With Twitter, Which
was what? Twitter started in, was it 2007?
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, 2007, 2008.
I was 10.
You would have been 14.
I was 10.
Yeah.
In 93.
Yeah.
Were you joking when you said that you are autistic or have autism?
No, very much not joking.
Really?
Not joking at all.
I like to think I've done some research and that did not come up in
my medical diagnoses don't come up on Google. I got to fix that.
Right. How long has that been? I mean, I guess you've been autistic. What is it better to say autistic or have autism?
Autistic or have autism. Here we go. We're getting into the meat of it. Let's see what she's going to say.
Sometimes there's preference.
I don't know. I don't know.
For you?
I don't
Doesn't
care. Yeah, doesn't matter.
Well,
but since I was in high school, I got diagnosed with ADHD in the 7th grade, and then OCD.
So ADHD, interesting. I kind of vibe with the take of like, you don't really care. I feel like most people, like out of the online setting, if you just use the phrase like if you're talking about autism and you say my autism or something like that, just off the cuff, I feel like that's fine. You know, I don't think that there is much of a, especially on YouTube, there isn't as much of like a, oh, you're not supposed to refer to us in that way, or your autism in that way. Do you know what I mean? Like some people have that kind of social justice kind of militant advocacy perspective where they're just, you know, as soon as you use the wrong sort of terminology, you know, that means that you're an ableist pig. Do you know what I mean? Those types of people. I prefer being, you know, saying that I'm autistic, but you know, it's perhaps would annoy me if like a title of like a blog article or something had Thomas has autism, you know, instead of autistic person Thomas. I'd prefer that, but like if they just mentioned it like off the cuff within like the sort of main part of the to be honest, I've had that before. It doesn't really bother me that much. It's just a bit annoying. Anyway,
CD and autism in high school. And yeah, I mean, I was medicated for ADHD my entire schooling and childhood, but the autism you just got to run with.
What does that mean for you, having autism?
Tics.
Tics?
Pattern recognition, really specific and strong special interests that I become obsessive with, and then the OCD kicks in, and that kind of snowballs and creates things that my therapist.
So ADHD, autism, OCD, interesting. I don't know if like they do have OCD, but I know that there is a pretty sort of heavy crossover between some autism traits and a diagnosis of OCD. She's a P-star. I didn't know that. Yes. Oh no, she was. I think the reason why they're such a big person is because they blew up because of that stuff, and then eventually sort of went back and tried to correct it, and so they've done some social justice-y type stuff around it. I think that's the backstory. Feel free to. Oh geez. Still a little bit sicky. Is tics a short form of stimming? No, tics. That's. I was quite surprised that was the first thing that they said. I think there is some crossover between Tourette's or tics and autism, but it's not the same as stimming. Stimming is like some people say that it's unconscious. I think it can be, maybe for some people. I wouldn't say it's unconscious. I'd say it's habitual. Whereas tics are these sort of short sort of impulses. I have some tics as well, for sure. But stimming is different, for sure. That's true.
Therapist has to deal with more than.
Yeah.
I try not to let it affect the people around me, but life is also about learning, and that's why I will never stop going to therapy, because there's no medication for it, but there is a process towards self-awareness and self-correction.
What?
I did a documentary a while.
Self-awareness and self-correction. Do you think that Mia is on the neurodiversity bandwagon, or is stuck in the stan? What is it? No, I'm trying to use some internet lingo to sort of spice up my commentary, but I'm doing really poorly at it. Do you think they're under the pathology paradigm, the medical sort of idea of autism? They're trying to like reverse their autism in ways, or are they sort of self-acceptance driven? I'm not sure. No, it's not. I have tics and intense stimming. Completely different. Yeah, 100%. Is Mia Khalifa non-binary? I have no idea. Are they? Hello, Laura. Good to see you. This girl's making me cringe so far. Why? Maybe P is a special interest. I don't know. I mean, it's something that I've been perhaps. It's kind of a weird topic to talk about, so I don't really talk about it often. But I mean, there has been a lot of crossovers between the autistic community and like the whole like kink stuff that I've seen. I think I've seen some research on it as well. Something to do with the I think it's something to do with the direct communication that goes on in those types of groups to a certain degree. And also, more and more, I have seen different sort of Instagram influencers, either who do autism content going over to the OF stuff, or people who are already into that industry sort of coming out as autistic. So I'd be interested to see if there's any like research into that. I mean, I have seen some stuff about potential sort of atypical stuff around the whole SSEX stuff, you know? So I think that, you know, some people can be like completely one way, very hyper, you know, really want it all the time. Other people can be pretty asexual, you know. There's a big sort of autism asexual community as well. Crossover with the kink communities and different sexualities, yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, sexualities being another one, I suppose. The LGBT stuff, that is pretty apparent.
A while ago about autism, although it was people who were deeper into the spectrum and had significant behaviors, some were non-verbal, and part of it
deep
as well
into
was,
the spectrum.
Struggling to identify emotions facially. Does that resonate with you at all?
Yeah.
No, but for me, it's more so recognizing and not being able to stop myself, like knowing that what I'm about to say is offensive and is uncouth, and not being able to stop myself at all. Even if my brain says that is probably what you should not say, it's like a compulsion.
Really?
Yeah.
I'd say that sounds a little bit more like, I mean, there is some impulse stuff related to autism, but it sounds more like an ADHD thing to me. But that's interesting. So high masking individual, obviously, perhaps has done a lot of work in understanding indirect communication, the old cognitive empathy, deep into the spectrum. Yeah. Yes, gonna start using that. I'm deep into the spectrum. How does she know it's not appropriate? That's the whole thing for me. Yeah, I don't know if. I mean, if they do have some tics, maybe they do have that. Although I wouldn't say that. I think some people are just very, very direct, and you know they're aware that what they're saying could perhaps be offensive, but they just go for it anyway. I guess I'm sort of like that to a certain degree. I just tend to have a bit more of a soft approach to that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. But it's not in the same way that
which goes great with social media.
Yeah, exactly.
What a great combination.
Exactly.
Is that the key?
But go on, talk about that then. So how is that something that you're happy about, or just something that is?
It's just something that is. I love it. I love my special interests. I love being able to get home and unmask and be able to have my physical and mental tics more freely. But no, I mean, I think anyone who is on
mental
the spectrum
tics
is also able to mask really, really, really well to be able to be a functioning member of society.
Not everyone, of course, who's on the spectrum, but there is a lot of people. I would say, I'd say that there is a fair amount of undiagnosed autistic people who have just completely been lost. You know, not lost, but completely masked themselves through just all aspects of life. You know, they never really have the act breaking moment that makes them sort of try to do some digging into what's different about them. Some people, yeah, I can imagine, for sure.
But then it kind of creeps out sometimes, usually on Twitter.
Over the years, you've got into hot water a few different times, I would say.
Hot water.
And there's something kind of beautiful about that.
I agree. I very much agree.
In a risk-averse society, right, in a world where people are shamed into keeping quiet, you've gone in the other direction. And I'm sure paid the cost at times, definitely.
Is Louis Theroux a free speech activist? I didn't know. Autistic AF, how you doing, man? We are just watching the recent Mia Khalifa interview of Louis Theroux on autism. We're speaking about the ADHD and tics and potentially OCD.
There's senses in which you've been cancelled, kind of.
Cancelled.
You know, it's not a great term, but I'll use it because it felt like the sex worker community got annoyed with you and said she's speaking for sex work, but she was only in the industry 3 months. Then you fell afoul of Muslims. Like you obviously did a highly controversial video way back, and you know got death threats pointed your way. And then more recently, with tweets about the Middle East. Do you approach all of those controversies with composure?
Scott, do you approach all of the controversies with composure? Oh, I cut it off at the interesting moment. I think, to be honest, like the way that I approach like asking like on the nose questions or talking about on the nose questions are very similar to Louis. Like, because he really does like get very direct with his like line of questioning, but he has a sense of softness about him with stuff. I think not all the time, of course, but yeah, it's she's definitely like not afraid to speak her mind, you know. Oh, don't get upset at people in the chat. It's we're all it's okay. Let's be buddy, you know. We're just watching an interesting interview. She's being very busy. Yes, indeed. That's the thing. That's the thing that I don't feel like I can do. Like I don't want to be speaking about stuff that I'm not very, very read up on. Maybe she is very read up on it, but I feel like there is a lot of people who do the whole social media thing who just chip in to like every single conversation. Do you know, like any sort of hot button issue? Whereas whilst all the Middle East stuff has been going on, like I've been far away from making any sort of comments or anything related to that because I don't feel like I can. I don't feel like it's really my thing to talk about, you know. I don't feel like I'm informed enough. Yeah.
Composure, to what extent does all of that affect your equilibrium?
I think that it varies situation by situation. I would say the first two, I did not let it affect me that much. I think that people needed someone to blame, and instead of blaming the production company and the way that things are presented to the performers and how they have absolutely no say in it whatsoever and how they don't know what they're doing until they show up, I think that all of the hate being targeted towards me is simply just one of those ways of life. I'm not the first person to be the scapegoat for something that they didn't do, they didn't think of.
I suppose thinking about it, the whole, because I wasn't, you know, I've seen the stuff, I've seen like the controversy around Mia, but I suppose adding in the element of them being an ADHD individual, I suppose has some potential of like complicating the situation, you know? I'm not sure. It's an interesting line of thinking. I hope that they expand on it a little bit because that would be definitely a very interesting thing.
And do intentionally. So that I just have to let roll off of me. What I feel bad for is all of the Arab women who didn't want to be sexualized, who were then compared to me. That's what hurts me more. It's not the people who are sending me death threats. Fuck them. I couldn't care less about them. It's more so the women who look like me just because of the color of their skin or the color of their hair or the fact that they have terrible vision being sexualized for no reason other than existing and looking like me. But the latter one, the everything that happened in October, I regret nothing. That affected me a lot more because those death threats became very real, became very personal, like showing up at my house, me having to leave my house, me having to switch cars for a couple months, me having to have my windows tinted because I'm at a red light in Miami and someone comes up and starts banging on my windows and spitting at my car. Like that one was a little bit different, but I also don't regret that. That's not what happened to me isn't the worst thing that happened to someone who was standing up for Palestine. So I feel
like you've got to have a pretty strong resolve, you know, to to like deal with all that stuff. Well, she's just like staring at are they non-binary? Let me check. Oh no, they're not non-binary. They are bisexual, maybe. That's what Reddit says. I think they're very, from what I can see on Google, very supportive of the LGBT movement as well. Mia Khalifa raises thousands to help Black trans women. She's definitely doing a lot of stuff. It's interesting. Let's watch a little bit more, see if they talk about autism again. I'm not sure if that's where the autism kind of conversation dilutes a little bit.
Also, just roll with it and have no regrets. I stand by every single thing I said.
Wow. So there's a lot to pick up on. So the first thing that struck me was that, you know, the death, you said what worried you or what bothered you was the idea that Arab women might be sexualized because of imagery or resemblance to you. But the death threats didn't worry you. That's kind of extraordinary.
Well, they worried me on like a reason. I'm not insane. They worried me enough to like, if, when someone is sending you a screenshot of your house on Google Maps, you got to leave your house. But I'm also, that's not the biggest worry of mine. That's something that, you fix that, you move on, you move, literally, you fix that. The young women who are feeling sexually unsafe because of the way men are looking at them, that's not something that I can fix. And those usually aren't the women who are blaming me. Mm-hmm. Those are usually the women who have more compassion for me. And that in turn makes it feel so much worse.
Was an actual fatwa issued against you?
I don't know about official, but I've spoken to a lot of security agencies, some of them here in the UK. A lot of the people who work for them or own these companies spent a lot of time in the Middle East. And their recommendation is that you don't need to go there. Don't go there, maybe.
Mm.
Yeah.
I mean, just going to Marrakesh 2 years ago was a really scary experience. And it wasn't because of the city of Marrakesh. It was at the airport. It was at the airport, being followed to the gate, having my passport taken, having someone take a photo of it with their iPhone. That's what makes you feel uncomfortable, feeling like you are not on a soil that has an extradition treaty. Not that the United States would give a fuck about me, because I think I talk more shit about them than I do the politicians in the Middle East. But that's when it gets a little dicey and scary.
So this happened in Marrakesh airport when you.
So they're very into the whole politics and sort of social justice kind of movements and such now, I believe. Yeah, I don't know if they do talk about autism again. It says, the title of the episode says Mia Khalifa on living with autism, receiving, oh my god, it's scrolling at like an ungodly low amount of speed. Receiving death threats, yeah, okay. So I think that's the bulk of like the conversation that they have about autism. I feel like, we could definitely watch like the rest of it, but I don't think it's the most... it's not really a topic that I feel like I can contribute much to talk about other than going wow and genuinely sort of listening. I don't think there's much sort of opinion stuff that I can add to it, but I do find the whole, I'd like to hear some more stuff from Mia about like how autism interplayed to their you can look at the transcripts. Yeah, I'll do that. Let me have a look. Where is the transcript? I think that's it, From what I can see, I can't really see any other mentions of autism. That's kind of a shame, because I would have really liked to hear, like, the perspective of, like, an autistic person going through the corn industry. I think that would be a really interesting thing to touch on. But I'm glad that they are talking about it. I think there's more people who are talking about autism. And I hope you have enjoyed this. And if you have, make sure to like, subscribe, and consider checking out the main channel, Thomas Henley, where I produce bi-weekly, two videos a week. And if you like watching these clips, make sure to head over to my main channel, of course, and you'll be able to catch up, get notified of the lives that I do. And if you want to become a member, you'll be able to see those uncut lives in the entirety over on my main channel. Anyway, I'll see you later. I'm not going. I'm still here. That was the clip.